Hi friends, my name is Nandita. I am from Andhra Pradesh.
Good morning dear students. Today we are going to discuss about excretory products and their elimination from chapter 19 CBSE syllabus class 11. Children, now let us discuss about human excretory system. Excretory system is one of the most important system in the human body which performs secretion via waste discharge and elimination of toxins from the body. The human excretory system consists of some organs. Children, let us study what is human excretion. Excretion is a very important process for the human body. Everything that we consume in our body is removed with the help of excretion. After the intake of food, all the useful substance and nutrients are absorbed by the body, and the rest of the waste which might be harmful to the body is removed with the help of excretory organs present in the body. The human excretory system consists of a urinary bladder, a pair of kidneys, a pair of ureters, and a urethra. All these organs work together to remove the metabolic wastes from the body. Children, now let us discuss about organs of the human excretory system. A pair of kidneys is the main organ of the excretory system and it is located on either side of the spine. Kidneys are bean-shaped structures that have an inner concave side. It is made up of a very small functional units called nephrons. The blood goes into the kidneys with the help of renal arteries and leaves through renal veins. Kidneys are divided into three regions, namely renal cortex, renal medulla, and renal pelvis. The renal cortex is the outer layer, the renal medulla is the inner layer, and the renal pelvis is the one carrying the urine from the kidneys to the ureter. The kidneys produce urine, which is a liquid solution of the waste material and toxins of the body. It also has uric acid and urea. When purines are broken down into the body, uric acid is produced. Purines are present in the body and are natural substance. Urea is produced by the amino acid breakdown in the liver. Children, now let us discuss the structure of kidney. First, let us discuss about capsule. The outer layer of the kidney is called capsule. The kidney contains two zones, outer zones which are called the cortex and the inner zone which is called the medulla. The capsule, also known as renal capsule, is a thin membranous sheet that covers the outside of each kidney. It's made up of a tough fibers, mainly collagen and elastin, which helps to support the kidney mass and protect vital tissues from injury. Children, now let us discuss the structure of nephron. Nephron is the basic functional unit of kidneys that consists of glomerulus and its associated tubules through which the glomerular filtrate passes before it emerges as urine. Let us go through the structure and function of the nephron and learn more in detail about the parts of the nephron and the role of renal tubule in urine formation and excretion process. Children, let us discuss now what is nephron. A nephron is the basic structural and functional unit of the kidney. They are the microscopic structure composed of renal corpuscle and renal tubule. The word nephron is derived from the Greek word nephrons, meaning kidney. There are about millions of nephrons in each human kidney. Children, let us study the structure of nephron. The mammalian nephron is a long tube-like structure, its length varying from 35 to 55 millimeters long. At the end, the tube is closed, folded and expanded into a double-walled, a cup-like structure called the Bowman's capsule or renal corpuscular capsule, which encloses a cluster of microscopic blood vessels called the glomerulus. This capsule and glomerulus together constitute the renal corpuscle. Children, the structure of nephron comprises two major portions. First one is renal tubule, second one is renal corpuscle. Renal tubule. The renal tubule is a long and convoluted structure that emerges from the glomerulus and can be divided into three parts based on function. The first part is called the proximal convoluted tubule, PCT. Due to its proximity to the glomerulus, it stays in the renal cortex. The second part is called loops of Henle or nephritic loop because it forms a loop with descending and ascending limbs that goes through the renal medulla. The third part of the renal tubule is called the distal convoluted tubule, DCT, and this part is also restricted to the renal cortex. The capillaries of the glomerulus are enclosed by a cup-like structure called Bowman's capsule. This structure extends to form highly colloid tubules called PCT. PCT continues to form the loop of Henle which ascends to DCT, which in turn opens into the collecting duct. The major function of tubule is reabsorption and process can either be through active transport or passive transport. In addition, secretions by tubules help in the urine formation without affecting the electrolyte balance of the body. Children, now let us discuss in detail about the function of proximal convoluted tubule, PCT. The blood brought by the renal artery is filtered by the glomerulus and then passed to the PCT. Maximum reabsorption takes place in PCT of the nephrons. The PCT is the region of renal tubule where reabsorption of essential substances like glucose, proteins, amino acids, a major portion of electrolytes and water takes place. The surface area of reabsorption is facilitated by the lining of simple cuboidal epithelium in them. Reabsorption takes place at the expense of energy, that is, the process is active. PCT selectively secretes ions such as hydrogen, ammonia, and potassium into the filtrate and absorbs HCO3 from it. Thus, PCT maintains the electrolyte and acid-base balance of the body fluids. Henle loop. The Henle loop has a descending and ascending limb. Being part of the same loop, both the descending and ascending limbs show different permeability. The ascending limb is permeable to water but impermeable to an electrolyte, while the ascending limb is permeable to electrolytes but impermeable to water. Since the electrolytes gets reabsorbed at the ascending loop of Henle, the filtrate gets diluted as it moves towards the ascending limb, but reabsorption is limited in this segment. Children, now let us discuss about distal convoluted tubule, DCT. The DCT, which is the last part of the nephron, connects and empties its contents into collecting ducts that line the medullary pyramids. The collecting duct, a mass contents from multiple nephrons and fuse together as they enter the papilla of the renal medulla. Similarly to PCT, DCT also secretes ions such as hydrogen, potassium and NH3 into the filtrate while reabsorbing the HCO3 from the filtrate. Conditional reabsorption of sodium ions and water takes place in DCT. It maintains the pH and sodium-potassium levels in the blood cells. Children, now let us discuss about collecting duct. Collecting duct is a long straight tube where H+ and K+ ions are secreted to maintain the electrolyte balance of the blood. This is also the reason where the maximum reabsorption of water takes place to produce concentrated urine. Children, now let us discuss about renal corpuscle. The renal corpuscle consists of a glomerulus surrounding by a Bowman's capsule. The glomerulus arises from an efferent arteriole and empties into an efferent arteriole. The smaller diameter of an efferent arteriole helps to maintain high blood pressure in the glomerulus. Come to Bowman's capsule. The Bowman's capsule is divided into three layers. The outer parietal layer, it is made up of epithelial cells with minute pores of diameter 12 nm. Middle basement membrane. This layer is selectively permeable. Inner visceral layer. It consists of a large nucleated cells called podocytes which bear finger-like projections called podocele. Children, now let us discuss about types of nephrons. There are two types of nephrons. First one is called cortical nephron. The cortical nephrons are present within the cortex. They are short and compress about 80% of the total nephrons. Next come to maxillary nephrons. These have long loops of Hensley and extend into the medulla. These are about 20%. Children, now let us discuss the difference between cortical nephrons and medullary nephrons. Cortical nephrons found in cortex and come to the medullary nephrons found at the function of renal cortex and medulla. These cortical nephrons again they have relatively short loop of Hensley and come to maxillary nephrons they have long loop of Hensley and vasa recta. Then come to the cortical nephrons. Under normal water level conditions, this nephrons deals with the control of blood volume and come to the medullary nephrons are in case of deficient water supply, increases water retention occurs through this nephron. Children, now let us discuss the functions of nephrons. The primary function of the nephron is removing all waste products including solid wastes and other excess water from the blood, converting blood into the urine, reabsorption, secretion and excretion of numerous substances. As the blood passes through the glomerulus, with high pressure, the small molecules are removed into the glomerular capsules and travel through a winding series of tubules. The cells present in each tube absorb different molecules excluding the glucose, water and other beneficial molecules which are called as the ultrafiltrate. As the ultrafiltrate molecules travel down to the tubules, they become more and more hypertonic which result in more amount of water to be extracted from the ultrafiltrate before it exits the nephron. The blood surrounding the nephron travels back into the blood through the renal blood vessels which are free of toxins and other excess substance. The obtained ultrafiltrate is urine which travels down via the collecting duct to the bladder where it will be stored and released throughout the urethra. Children, let us discuss the conclusion. Excretion in human beings takes place through lungs, skin, liver, the kidneys are the main organs of human excretory system. They are bean-shaped organs which weigh between 150 to 170 grams and their length ranges from 4 to 5 inches long. The kidneys are located in the retroperitoneal space in the abdominal cavity just below the rib cage and present in the opposite direction or facing each other on both the left and right side of the body. The right kidney is slightly smaller and lower than the left kidney. Compared to males, the total area, size and the weight of the kidneys are smaller in females. Therefore, both male and female should be careful during their kidney transplantation. Children, come to the major functions of the kidneys. The major function of the kidneys are maintaining the body's pH, reabsorption of nutrients, regulates the body blood pressure, excretion of waste from the body, removal of excess fluid from the body, secrete hormones that help in the production of red blood cells, acid regulation, etc. The functional unit of kidney is the nephron. Each kidney consists of millions of nephrons which play a significant role in the filtration and purification of blood. The nephron is divided into two portions, namely the glomerulus and the renal tubule, and helps in the removal of excess waste from the body. Children, let us discuss about ureters. Ureter, the toxin remover. Urine is produced by the kidneys by removing toxins or excess fluids from the bloodstream. Fluid is passed throughout the body as waste via two narrow channels known as ureters. The length of ureter ranges from 8 to 10 inches. Muscles in the bladder membranes tense and relax to push waste slightly out to the renal. Then 10 to 20 seconds, tiny volumes of pee are produced through the ureters into the bladder. In some instances, the urine from the kidneys could get locked or damaged. It could obstruct the passage of pee to the bladder. Urinary illness can occur if pee remains stagnant the ureter. Children, now let us discuss what is ureter. The ureter is the conduct that transport urine through the kidneys into the urinary bladder. There are two ureters, one of each renal. The top section of the ureter is found in the belly, while the bottom end is found in the pelvis. You can easily understand it with the help of a ureter diagram. In adult individual, the length of ureter is around 10 to 12 inches long. The pipe has robust borders that may flex, and those are made up of fibers, muscles, and mucus coating. One must not forget the fact that there is a difference between the ureter and the urethra. The ureter function of duplication is a hereditary disorder wherein both ureters originate from the very solely organ. Uretropelvic junction impairments happens at the time that link connecting the renal as well as the ureter is obstructed, preventing a pee from escaping the renal. Blocking of a uretrovesical node whenever the link connecting the urethra and the bladder is obstructed. If either of this happens, urinary flows is obstructed, which can lead to acute renal failure, swelling in the kidney, or renal calcification. Therapeutic options include inserting a catheter, a difference and particular pipe, a shunt, a device that keeps conducts or pipe intact. Amputations medicines can be frequently recommended when an abnormality is discovered. Physicians employ a variety of methods to detect ureteral problems. Urine samples, X-rays, and cytoscope inspection of its ureter are among them. The underlying cause of the diseases determines the medication. This could be include drugs as well as in extreme cases and as surgeries. Children, let us discuss the functions of ureter. The ureter functions are as follows. The urine from the kidney is a component of urinary tract that filters fluids, and excess fluids are residual waste. The job of the urinary system in the producer is to transport pee from the renal to the urinary bladder. Urethral motions push wastewater away from the kidneys and via the urethra. The urine from the kidney is always in motion, discharging pee into the bladder every 10 to 20 seconds. The kidneys not only eliminate toxins through the system, but they also actively maintain liquids, produce chemicals to damage heart rate, and govern the saturn of RBC, which is the uterus function. The urethra, like the uterus, is a muscle located in the area that expands expel waste. A typical human urethra could contain roughly 2 cups of water. Children, let us discuss the constructions of ureter. The ureter parts have a size of 3 mm with a total number of 3 constructions of ureter that are the most pre-relevant locations of kidney blockage. The kidney pelvic as well as the ureter's pelvic ureteric junctions PUG. When the ureters enters the pelvic area or passes across the superficial inguinal artery, it splits. When the ureters joins the pelvic membrane, laterally at the vesico-ureteric junction PUG. Children, now let us discuss the difference between ureter and urethra. The fundamental difference between the ureter and the urethra would be that The ureter empties pee through the kidneys into the urinary bladder, while the urethra empties fluid towards the exterior of the human being. Children, let us discuss some facts of ureter. Light straw or clear urine with a yellowish tint is perfectly appropriate. Extra hydration is essential if your pee is dark yellowish or caramel colored. A deeper dark color can suggest an issue with an organ or acute exhaustion. Reddish brown or red pee can indicate internal bleeding. Related disorders. Urethral problems may be inherited or acquired as a consequence of an accident or illness. Whenever the passage of pee from the kidneys to the urinary bladder is disrupted, urethral issues ensure. Renal inflammation may occur if pee does not flow out of the kidney. Children, now let us discuss about urinary bladder. The sac-like structure is the place where all the urine is stored. The urinary bladder is a delicate organ of our body which serves the function of storing urine or waste fluids that come out of the kidneys. It is a vital organ that can cause trouble like a stone in the urinary bladder when not taken a proper care of it. It's situated at the pelvis near the pubic bone. It is a sac-like structure that facilitates the flow of the urine through expansion and contraction. We shall focus on the structure of the urinary bladder through a urinary bladder diagram and also try to understand its various parts. Children, let us discuss in detail about what is urinary bladder. The urinary bladder is the part of the urinary system that is connected with the removal of waste products from the body through the medium of urine and that facilitation of blood purification. It is somewhat triangular and has a halo within itself to allow urine storage. Its features are urinary bladder capacity has an average capacity of 500 ml which can vary from individual to individual. Let's come to contraction and expansion. The muscle in the bladder contract and expand according to the need to facilitate retention or excretion. Storage time. Generally, a person can hold urine for 5 hours. With more practice, it can extend to 7 to 8 hours. However, it is not advisable to do so. Location. It is located in the lower abdomen near to the pubic bone. Children, now let us discuss parts and structure of urinary bladder. The urinary bladder has the following parts and structure. The transitional epithelium layer. This is the initial stage that surrounds the inside of the bladder. This lining tends to expand when the bladder is filled with urine. Lamina propria. Lamina propria has nerve ending adipocytes, fibrocytes and interstitial cells. They jointly excrete a matrix. Now next come to the another part, muscularis propria layer. It is elastic like a muscle which is also known as a dystrocer. It is thick and smooth and is situated beside the lamina propria. The other parts including perivesical tissue that is composed of fat and blood vessels. It acts as a segregation between the bladder and kidneys. The tubes of ureter and are attached to the bladder directly. Moreover, the bladder consists of sphincters of two types which act as valves to control the urine flow. The dystrocer muscles act to contract them during important situations like continence. If you want to have a clearer view of the structure of the urine bladder, take a look at the urinary bladder diagram. Stone in urinary bladder. Sometimes minerals of urine can start to form a stone inside the bladder. Under inadequate care, they crystallize inside and disrupt the regular flow of urine, thereby causing extreme pain. A major symptom is the inability to urinate. Some other symptoms of having a stone in the urinary bladder are severe to moderate pain in low abdomen, painful urination, blood in urine, extreme discomfort during urination, peculiar colored urine that is generally dark. Smaller stones can be treated with medicines. However, when the stones grow out of control, an operation is the only way out. These stones can be prevented by consuming adequate and clean water every day. Additionally, one should not control urine for extreme durations for a long time. Urethra. Urethra, it is a tube-like structure that arises from the urinary bladder. The urine comes out of the body finally through this. In males, this is common path for sperms and urine. We can understand the urethra as the thin tube or a duct that interlinks the urinary bladder to the urine meatus so that urine can pass out from both males and females. The urethra function is only for urinating in females, but males use this urethra for ejaculation and urination. In other words, the male urethra transports both urine and semen. The female urethra is about 1 to 5 inches long and the female urethra is long as penis, through 7 to 8 inches in length. The urethra is held by the urethral sphincter, a muscular structure that helps keep urine in the bladder until voiding can occur. Now that we have touched the base of the urethra function, let us delve into its other nitty and gritty. Urinary bladder, a sac-like structure which stores urine temporarily. The urinary bladder has two parts, body and trigone. Body is made up of involuntary muscles which is called distressor muscle, and trigone is a triangular part. There are two sphincters on the lower end of trigone. Internal sphincter made up of unstraightened muscles, external sphincter made up of straightened muscles. Urinary bladder has capacity of 700 to 800 ml. When it is filled up to 300 to 400 ml of urine, then stretch receptors present on the walls of urinary bladders are stimulated and impulse is formed. This impulse is carried out to spinal segments through pelvic nerve. Parasympathetic nerve fibers are excited and contraction in distressor muscle and relax in internal sphincter occurs. This causes urine to come out called micturition. Lower part of the urinary bladder is joined with urethra. The primary urethra function is to let the urine pass from the bladder out of the body. It happens when the brain tells the bladder that it is time to squeeze and the sphincter muscles relax, releasing the urine through the urethra. Likewise, the exact mechanism is also used in case of male ejaculation during copulation. When male ejaculate, the sperm is carried throughout the urethra. The primordial differences between urination and ejaculation is that in the latter, instead of the brain bladder sphincter muscles communicating, when men have nerves in the spinal cord, vast differences, seminal vesicles and prostate that work in conjunctions to close the opening of the bladder. They work together to enable the semen to move down the penis and through the urethra. Let us explore the anatomy of the urethra. Urethra anatomy. Come to discuss about male urethra. It is divided into 4 parts as per the location. The first part is the pre-prostatic urethra. It is the main intramural part of the male urethra, engulfed by the urethral sphincter and ranges from 0.5 and to 1.5 centimeters in length, depending upon the fullness of the bladder. After that, we have the prostatic urethra. It starts at the neck of the bladder and it is located in prostate. It is the widest part of the urethra and it is surrounded by the sphincter muscle that holds the urine until its due time. After that, the spongy urethra makes up the bottom portion of the urethra, which has several subdivisions like the bulbous and penile urethra. The penile urethra is the most extended section of the urethra and runs from the urogenital diagram to the penis top. It is noteworthy to highlighted that all the parts of male urethra have their supply to arteries that facilitate blood flow. The prostatic urethra utilizes the inferior vesical artery. That membranous urethra uses the artery located at the penis bulb. The spongy urethra utilizes the pudendal artery found deep in the pelvis. Now let us discuss about female urethra. To begin with, the female urethra anatomy is far more straightforward than its male counterpart. The female urethra covers less distance and hence it is less complex. It starts at the bladder and parallels along with the pelvic floor. It opens onto the perineum after passing through the sphincter muscle. The female urethra comprises three layers: muscular, rectile and mucus layer. The female urethra, as we have already mentioned, is about 4 centimeters long, exits between the clitoris and the vagina and extends from the internal to the external urethral orifice. Human urethra. To begin with, the length of the urethra varies across genders. The length of female urethra is usually around to 4 to 5 centimeters, as we discussed earlier, whereas the male urethra is 20 centimeters or longer. The job of the female urethra is solely to facilitate urination. On the contrary, the responsibility of male urethra is urination and ejaculation. The voluntary control associated with urination comes from the striated muscles known as the external ureter sphincter. The urethral cancer is a rare cancer type found only among 1 or 2 people diagnosed with cancer.